We're back with friend of the show, one of the first Californians to come on an episode. So, Shak.
Yes, I.
What you say?
It's cool, you know. Glad to be back in the zone. I like your new, you know.
The setting's nice.
The ambience nice. It's feeling nice. It's making me feel important.
Salute to Conrad and Che only. Conrad and Che only of Affordable Import Studios. It's nice, you know, them fellas doing our work. But let me tell you something. From the time I talk to you and I tell you, I'm in a space now where you come through. I'm trying to predict your next move. You're a hard man to predict, you know. I listen. I say, all right, I see where he going this year because the political culture is all kind of thing happening. Who step down, who get locked. I say, all right, I've started Shak at them this year. Next thing I hear a love song. I hear a whole love song coming in. Think, me want nobody feel I'm making up nothing, you know. I don't want to ask you nothing before I let people hear it for themselves, you know.
As real love can get now.
For years I shed tears, watching other men treat you bad. And oh, it hurt me so, always seeing you look so sad. Oh woman, see they choose you, but they use you, they abuse you, so they go lose you. And even when you think your hardship ends, it starts all over again. But it's a brand new era, time for a brand new lover. Woman, your heartache is over, but tell them I'm your brand new lover. Hey. Tell them dress back, don't talk back, don't turn back. Heartache is over, tell them I'm your brand new lover.
Up to this point, I say, but Shak. I listen, right? And I say, but wait. It has happened because when I reach out, you say, well, you're launching the tune. So I wait, I say, right, I'm coming right down in the zone. You had to tell me about this, you know. You had to tell me about your process for this song, boy.
Yeah. Well, when people listen to the song, you realize the song is not what it is on the surface, right? This song is a song that has been in one of the songs in the vault for quite a number of years, since probably about 2012. Of course, some things were updated. As a matter of fact, we do over the whole production of the song from what it originally was. And of course, some things had to get dealt with different lyrically in terms of the messaging and thing. Mm. So the whole concept of the song is really me personifying Kaiso as a woman who have been having this long-lasting love and infatuation with, but loving from a distance and seeing Kaiso being put through all kind of thing by all kind of other suitors who come in the mix and promising this, that, and the other to better Kaiso. And all I've been observing is that these people present Kaiso, and as Kaiso welcome them, they do what they want, take what they could get, go their way, and leave Kaiso in wherever state it in to catch yourself, right? So I reached the point now where I am one of them people who love you enough to tell you the things that not so pleasant, that you mightn't necessarily want to hear, but you need to know that, you know, some people who care about you, observing you continually and continuously accepting the wrong kind of love. You know?
Well, listen, I want to go back in the second verse, you know, because when I listen to the first, I say, but this different. I mean, the sweetness is mastermind too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, him and I collaborate on the production, a lot of my stuff. So
yeah, sweetness of the track itself, your voice on it and everything. Yeah. I said, but you going in a love zone, boy. I said, this is the tune the man tell me about. And when I reach the second verse, now I realize for me, because I double entendre usually go hide the meaning behind some words and them things. But for you to go in that first verse, because the first verse you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah. As a listener, it's just a love song.
Of course.
So I want to dive into that second verse.
They love you to death, but the hate in their heart make the game fall apart. None of them was ready yet, no. They say Master treat you bad, so them will save you. But in their big yard, them self-enslave you. Now you know them out full of lies. Get them out of your life, cause it's a brand new era. Time for a brand new lover. Guys, so your heartache is over. But tell them them I'm your brand new lover. Seem like they want to keep your vision and your mission trapped in the teeth in competition. Tell them jokers, you deserve a brand new lover. To the bridge now, they never really value the beauty that you got. Oh no, no, no. So they try to turn you into all kind of thing that you're not. Kaiso, they try to change your spirit and feel, manipulate your soul and your feel. But you knew that it was never ever real. So tell them it's a brand new era, time for a brand new lover. Let them know your heartache is over. Calypso's got a brand new lover.
So listen, if you say they have an abusive lover, I can't go without asking who so, you know. You have to call name.
That list long, man. That list long. That list long. That list long. But yeah, you see, the thing is, let me tell you, for me, I have been realizing Calypso has always been a very intelligent and provocative music, right? The way I learned this art form. One of the Calypsonians I used to admire plenty. He wasn't very popular. He was popular in South. A guy by the name of Felix Joseph. He passed away now. His name was Breed. Breed is a man with a starter Kaiso. And when you listen to the first verse of the Kaiso and tell yourself you know where the Kaiso going, by the time he hit the second and the third verse, you shocked that he take that turn. Now, he's not the only Calypsonian that used to do that, but he was one of the greatest at that. And that is how I learned the art form. That's one of the things I learned about the art form. So I always try to utilize that. The thing about it now is the art form getting kind of dumbed down in a kind of way where everybody expect to get everything in the first 2 minutes of the song, right? And I mean, when you really look at it, the more popular forms of music just do you that. After the first 2 minutes, you don't know the whole layout of the song. Sure. You don't get about 3 hook, and you get to 2-line verse, and so you don't know where the song going. It's just jam down the road. But Kaiso was never that. Kaiso was always the music that keep you on edge and keep you thinking and keep you engaged, not just musically, but in terms of the story and the message. Right. So you have to listen to know where this Kaiso going. I think we kind of move away from that plenty, even with the Kaiso now. Because for all kind of reasons, you know, people trying to appeal to all kind of thing. But I felt like with this story, the story had a build. Now, if you want to listen to the first verse and go with it, when I put out the song, I can't tell you how many people message me and say, what boy, going in a love song and ting. And the minute they say that but didn't say anything, I know they're listening past the first verse. Right? Which is fine. The people who reach out to me like yourself and say, well, I thought it was a love song, you know, but it happened in the tent too, right? This year I went back to Kaiso Showcase, which is actually where I started my tent journey back in 2007, after spending all them years in Kaiso House. There were cast members who, during the rehearsal, they're listening, but they're more shocked by the fact that I come with this music, mood and music. They didn't listen to the song.
Right.
So after the tent start, one of the first shows we do when I perform this song, a few of them came to me and say, "Yeah, now, that song is something else. I thought it's a love song you're singing." It is a love song, but it's not, as I tell them the other night in the bowl, it's not Cupid shooting you with arrows and fluffy hearts and colorful rainbows kind of love.
Yeah, big Valentine's.
It's the realistic, tough kind of love, as I say, where somebody loves you enough to tell you the unpleasant things that they're observing, to get a wake-up call.
Yeah.
That, not that you don't know these things, you know, but you may not know how it's looking from the outside. And somebody who care about you enough to come and tell you, listen, I've been watching your XYZ ABC and observing this and that. And you might be surprised to know they're observing you so much and that they're that much on the button.
Right.
So that is what this song really is about. And it is, again, using the art form to address some things. Because if you're willing to, and I'm talking about anybody who might listen to this song now, if you're willing to stay on the whole journey and reach to the third verse, you're going to realize it get even deeper than what we just
if
listened
we
to.
here, we ain't going no place. What we here for if it's not that?
Oh, your Kaiso house, ignore all of them. Kaiso lows, your legacy to break.
I want to ask you who's the Kaiso Laos?
King frauds must get the hell out in this brand new.
Here's the funny thing about that verse, right? So the verse start by saying, about your historical root, they never care a thing. They distort your actual truth because they feel the lying agenda is king. But together we could restore your Kaiso house, ignore all of them Kaiso house. Now, some people hear it, and because they know of my history with Kaiso house,
Right.
and they also know that this year, Kaiso
You're not
house
the-
changed the name to Kaiso Dynasty, a lot of people perceive it as
jab
I
at
was
them.
throwing a shot now. You know, it's the funny thing? That line right, them lines right, months before I knew anything about Kaiso house going to change to Kaiso Dynasty. Now, there are some other things that I definitely purposely make reference to.
Right.
But it wasn't really about that, you know?
In this verse?
Said I'm your brand new lover. Said I'm your brand new lover.
That's all I want to ask you about. What happened in the studio there? Brand new. I said, what Shak? I said, real love, man.
As Calypsonian and Twiggy tell me, Twiggy say, I like your song. She say you're hitting them, but in a sexy way.
I feel you've been doing that, and we go come to that. But so people responding to it in the tent because the tent is a place where people come to listen.
Of course.
They staying with you.
Of course. As a matter of fact, we did a show yesterday in Pleasant Park Community Center. And, you know, for me, I am never certain how people are going to, you know, I don't be so presumptuous to say, hey, this one go mash them up and whatever. But I have been pleasantly surprised, especially by, you know, the Kaiso savvy audience.
Right.
They really latch on to the song, you know, and the story of the song and the journey. But as I say, when you're a real Kaiso lover, a real supporter and fan of Kaiso, you understand what Kaiso is. So you're not expecting or looking for a Kaisonian to come and give everything in the first verse. Then you want to listen to the rest of the Kaiso.
No, yeah, it's
You
true.
understand Kaiso is about constructing a story and it's about the journey, right? It's about the journey through the song and the message of the song and whatever else. So, you know, people been really latching on to it. I mean, people who's not Kaiso judges, that is.
Yeah. We come into them because when I hear it and I hear the second, it shocked. That second verse hit me. I said, nah, boy. You catch me again. Because you catch me in my favorite song of yours at LA's Blueprint, right? You catch me there.
Yeah.
But I said, nah, boy. Because I didn't see it coming at all. I said, what is this? I say the political licks and thing ain't work out for him. Like I say, he gonna love now.
Yeah.
And then when I hear it, I say, I wonder if people, I went back to the first verse because I was concerned about the same thing. I said, I wonder if people go reach.
Yeah.
But the song's so sweet. You must listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't shortchange my songs, them, right? I try to be as sound musically and sonically as I am lyrically.
Right.
Because I believe that is where you're really supposed to be aspiring to. You know what I mean? So, I don't shortchange none of them things. So, even though I might be hitting you some biting lyrics, even if you don't like the song or what's saying in the song, you must love the music.
You will get
And I
music.
meet plenty people like that already who, I meet particular politicians who songs was directed at them. And they go tell me, you hit me real hard there, you know. But your music nice.
That gonna make it nice. That gonna make it sound better.
Your music nice. And that is why I want.
Of course.
That is why I want because, you know, oftentimes, and as I say, sometimes you find with a Kaiso, it real strong lyrically, but musically it ain't doing nothing for you or vice versa.
Right.
You know, and I have been very careful in crafting my thing. I'm a musician at heart too, so I don't ever shortchange the music, but I also understand it very important to stay strong lyrically too.
Yeah, and that peacock, I feel it must never die in Kaiso.
That is part of the thing.
Yeah, it must happen in Carnival.
That is part. Let me tell you something. We just see Kaiso as just this genre of music that born here and that we just love sometimes. But I have always said, like, I have a brand that I started during the COVID called Brand Kaiso Rebel, right? And one of the taglines is that there's a Calypsonian in every Trinbagonian. Because Calypso is much more to me than just a genre of music. Calypso is a very life force. The way we just see things. You sit down in a line with some men over here, the most intelligent shit talk. You know? Men finding the most humorous and ironic and satirical sides of very, very serious issues.
Yeah.
Right? And that is always what Kaiso was. Kaiso was always that thing. It telling you about sorrow and hardship, you know, but it have a laugh behind the blade, you know, or a blade behind the laugh, however you want to look at it. But that is always the craft of Kaiso. That has always been the craft of Kaiso to me. So when I see and hear things that, you know, kind of moving away from that and kind of taking a kind of lazy route to appeal to certain things, it is bother me because I understand that helps shape the narrative and the perception of the public about Calypso.
Of course. So you come to get Kaiso a warning this year.
Yeah. Be very careful.
Yeah, heads up.
Because, you know, I mean, and to offer her alternative that,
Of course.
that to me, in my mind, is much more genuine.
Right.
And it's up to Kaiso now to make the decision as to...
Well, the problem is Kaiso don't decide. The judges decide.
Well, no. Well, you're right in the sense that, but you see, we allow the thing to reach where the judges does decide, right? Kaiso, to me, does still decide. To me.
Yeah.
Because as I was telling you before we started on air, a Kaiso judge asked me some years ago if I ever look at the comments and think because they are judging me in a few competitions, and I tell him, no. He asked me if I'm not interested to see it. I said, no. He said, why? And he asked me like he was kind of offended. I said, well, you know, it's not no offense, but your role as a Kaiso judge is a specific thing that have nothing to do with me as a creator and a Kaisonian, right? I never call myself a Kaisonian. No judge never make me a Kaisonian. People tell me as a Kaisonian. And I understand the importance of that role. And so, your job as a Kaiso judge is to assess or try to assess things by a very specific, particular rubric. If I am overly concerned about that and your comments within that context, and I continue to try to appeal to you and to that, I am going to be writing myself into a box of stagnation, right? That is not my role as the artist. My role as the artist is to understand what I am representing and supposed to represent within the required genre, which is Kaiso,
Right.
and try to remain relevant to the time and the circumstance. And in doing so, push the envelope.
Right.
When I push the envelope and the music continue to represent the now and evolve, then your rubric should be changing and reformatting to accommodate where the music going. But that is not what has been happening in Kaiso for the most part. For the most part, everybody trying to be successful in the competition and appeal to the judges and appeal to the rubric. So everybody writing themselves in the same box.
Yeah, everybody trying to conform to that.
Right? And my thing is, again, even if, because okay, it have people who feel that Kaiso in Trinidad must be about politics and bacchanal and whatever. And I'm saying, even if you decide to go down that road, it have plenty innovative ways to do that. That you don't have to write yourself in the same format and the same context all the time.
And the same chord structure.
And you know what I mean? All these kind of things. So that is my thing. That is my concern, and that is where I put my efforts at. How that fares in terms of the competition and the judges, do all your work.
Yeah.
Do all your work.
But you doing yours.
I doing mine. And my work not dictated by whether all you decide to put me in Skinner Park or not, put me in the Demarche ground or not. I have always said, I have been in this art form and in this game long enough that I feel I know now what to do if my aim is to appeal to judges and the rubric. I think I know what to do and what to sing. Because, for example, I'm not in Skinner Park this year,
Right.
but I'm still there because one of my compositions there. I've been working with a young lady by the name of Kaiso Charles Map for past few years, I think since 2018 or something like that. And she's been doing pretty well. We collaborate on a lot of the compositions. And, you know, that the song she's doing this year, which is a song entitled Original Superwoman, she actually already won the Emancipation competition in August with that. She placed third in the Queen show, and she's skin her back now with it, right? So I'm saying, I know how to construct and what to appeal to if that is my aim, right? But I not weighing too heavily on that side,
Of course, yeah.
right? Because understand now, this is Kalissa Charles Map singing a composition that Mistah Shak had input in. But a Mistah Shak song is a different thing.
Well, I'd ask if it's you they like.
It have plenty people that's come to me and ask me to write for them. And what it is really want is a Mistah Shak song.
I see.
And I just try to tell them, I don't work like that. If you come to me for something, what I am going to do is use my knowledge and skills, but I'm going to use it to try and craft a song for you.
Gotcha.
So that plenty times people just come to me and then they just have to leave after because they don't want to be part of the process. But I am not that songwriter who just write songs and put on and say, you take this, you take that, you take that. It are people who just do that.
Plenty of
Not
that in
me.
the carnival now, yeah.
I don't do that. If you come to me, I am trying to tailor something for you. Because if I take up my suit of clothes and give you it, you
in trouble.
3 feet shorter than me and 150
You're
pounds
drunk
lighter. You can't walk in my shoes and you can't wear my suit.
Of course.
So even if I hear a Calypsonian say once that if he had a former monarch say, if he had my songs, he would have won the crown about 2-3 times. And when I hear him say that, I laugh because I don't agree with that. Because he singing my songs is not me singing my songs. The people that see the end result, they don't understand that a Mistah Shak song is the culmination of who I am, my experiences, my perception, the way I see things, my personalities, a number of things that's come together that people just see as a song. At least for me. Right? It have other people who maybe a song is just a song, but that is not what it is for me. So, no. You could take one of my songs and chances are you would not fare as well as me. Because you may not have the personality to execute and deliver that the way I would deliver it.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Well, I hear Omari say it last week when he was on. He was talking about you doing your songs, being true to your songs, true to your art, knowing sometimes that it ain't good.
That conscious.
So this was it was like that this year. What was your thoughts on your riders?
Here's the thing. It have a number of things I've been saying for years. People oftentimes doesn't hear it because people hear what they want to hear. I have always said, I never liked the competition aspect of Calypso. Now, understand me. It has its place and its purpose. I think that has been overplayed. For me, a long time now, long time, the competition has stopped being an adequate and honest representation of what is the best of our Kaiso. Me saying that good Kaiso don't ever get any competition, I'm saying that has ceased to be an adequate catchment for what is good Kaiso long time. That's the first thing. I never liked the competition space. As a matter of fact, in 2010, my first season in Kaiso House, when I do Rogue, from night number 1 was on Call Like Rain. And from that night, there was a campaign started by other Calypsonians in the tent to make sure that I register for the competition, and I was resisting that.
Oh, you didn't want to go in with Rogue?
No, not at all. I had no interest in it.
As a fan, I would assume you write that with competition in mind.
Let me get a joke. Just like how I tell you, this song has been in the vault since 2012.
Right.
People get to know Rogue in 2010. I write Rogue in 2007.
Wow.
Right? I write Rogue since 2007.
Wow.
It developed over time, of course, and, things get added and structure change as, based on song developing. But that's how long I had that concept. So it was never about competition for me. So I didn't want to go in the competition. As I say, I resist that, and that is a little bit about wordplay because, interestingly enough, Resistance was the man who come and convinced me because that year, he actually saw me performing that in a Kaiso History Month competition the October before in South. And he came and invited me to be part of Kaiso House cast. So that when it reached to that now, he was the man who really convinced me and say, you mightn't like the competition, you mightn't want to go in, but the world had to hear you with that song. He said, and the world is pay attention to Kaiso in the competition. That always stick in my head.
Yeah.
Right? And So the next night when I came, I meet a form with all my information done on the form, just waiting for me to sign it. Right? And a big argument happening about which category to put the song in, whether it's humorous or whether it's as a social commentary, which is another thing we go get to. Right? And I was just confused. Right? So I've always said, I know that the competition space where Kaiso is during the carnival is when people just pay the most attention to Kaiso. I don't like it, but that is the fact. So because of that now, you find I will step into the competition space once I feel I have something to contribute in that space. But it's not about, I want to get in the competition so much. I know that is when people paying attention. So like I said before earlier, I feel I know what to do if I want to fare better, you know. But my thing is, I doing me. If all you make the mistake and put me on that big yard stage under all them lights where everybody paying attention, then I'm going to say all the things you don't want me to say. Because that is my role as a Kaisonian.
Of course.
And
keep society in check.
Wherever you put me, think about it. I have never won the National Calypso Monarch. But there are years when I was in the Monarch that people remember what I sing and didn't remember what the Monarch sing.
Of course, yeah. Some of the most memorable performances. So Rogue, you didn't make it in.
Rogue, I was in the finals. That was my first Marshgraf finals.
Right.
I can't remember why I come when I sing that.
Right.
But up to now, it have places I just go and perform where I cannot leave the stage without singing that song. Boy, was a similar phenomenon. Right? Just the other day, somebody meet me and people just still call me by the name of that song. Boy. You know? And you know, I had that conversation with a man recently. He was talking about, you know, the surgeons are youth and thing. And I say to him, you know, interesting to me, I say, you call me. And he ain't just call me by my name. He was quoting lyrics from boy, you know. Quoting lines. You know what line I like? And this is the other day, you know. I sang that song in 2014.
Yeah.
Right? So we talking 11 years later,
Yeah,
this
of
man
course.
is quoting lyrics to me. So I asked him, I say, you remember who win the Monarch that year? Say, yeah. I say, you remember the song? He said,
Or some lines.
He said, I think he did sing some kind of thing about. He couldn't remember. Now, that is not a slight on the
Of
man
course,
who win it.
I with you.
It's just the reality of, again, what we're really trying to do. Right? Because you could win a crown and win some money and your life could be nice and whatever. And I'm here saying it, I have no positives to that.
Right.
I'm saying, however, if after you do all of that, your contribution is quickly forgotten in the annals of Kaiso history, then what we really doing?
Yeah, then Kaiso need a brand new lover.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
Where
what
it really
resistance is important because I find it's something that I remember reaching out to Maximus Dan about this at time when he had Full Extreme. As somebody who was, I remember him coming up young and he was out of the competition thing. He didn't want to do it. And people was begging him that year to go in. And apartheid for me as a fan is that I want to live where I could tell my children and my grandchildren, I say, see, Mistah Shak, that man win that year. You know, the legacy part of it.
Exactly.
Real critical.
Yeah.
But it's a big thing to have standout songs and performances like what you had.
And I was just going to say, I hear what you're saying, and there are a lot of people who support me, family, friends, whatever, who I think their desire is for me to accomplish that more than is mine. But my thing is this. Brother Valentino.
Yeah, boy.
Never win a monarch.
Yeah.
He's still considered one
legendary.
of the greatest. Right? Brother Mudada. Never win a national monarch. Still considered one of the greatest. Trinidad Rio. Never win a monarch. One of the greatest Calypsonians. And we could see parallels in that all across. You're a basketball fan like myself. Charles Barkley never win a championship. But you could tell anybody that he wasn't one of the greatest basketballers that go. So that's what I'm saying now, boy. We have to understand and really reevaluate how much we wait in this thing. Right? And again, me I have no problem with who aspiring to that in a very specific kind of way. But I just try to keep that in context.
Right.
You know what I mean? And because I have seen people who win the monarch within recent times and it really did not redound to the betterment of Kaiso. You didn't see them exposed anymore. Or it come like when you win some of them people who win The Voice. Yeah, the competition.
And that was that.
And that was that. You almost never see or hear from most of them after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a similar kind of dynamic that has been happening with the Calypso Monarch, and it wasn't always so. So now, where is that really going? And more importantly, if it has outlived its purpose in terms of adequately representing the best of our calypso and calypsonians. Me saying to get rid of it, you know. But what else we doing
we had to adjust.
to fix that imbalance?
Yeah, with you.
Right? In the name of calypso, and I'm not just talking about a piecemeal kind of fix like what happening now.
True.
You know? Where it's like Kaiso reached a stage where it was so in tatters that they was willing to grab at anybody who have eyes and following. Right? In the name of Kaiso. Thinking that when they pull them, the audience go come and the audience go stay. No. I've been seeing them doing it for years. In the Kaiso tents, they will bring whoever is the biggest soca artist or whoever artist with the biggest name and put them in the tent. I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but the intent is when you bring them, the audience go follow. And the audiences never follow them. For a number of reasons. The Calypso tent experience and the Calypso audience is very, very particular with very particular tastes.
Right.
Apart from which, you bring in a soca artist in your tent hoping to attract people, and that soca artist in every other fete during the season.
Yeah, of course. And people looking for that from him.
Why would their core audience, knowing they could see them in 15 other fete, leave to come to the tent?
Yeah, to see 15 other people sing before them.
You understand what I'm saying? No, I'm not saying I see young people come to the tent and was blown away by the experience. So I'm saying we have to change the way we decide to profile Kaiso. One of the things that has been bothering me for years.
Right.
Every year you will hear them do an ad for Calypso Monarch. The bed music in all the ads is always soca.
Yeah.
You will never hear them playing a Kaiso as the bed music for an ad that advertising Calypso
Kaiso
Monarch.
competition, nice.
And you know, I've been observing that, right? And it's something I talk about. Not only that, it goes so far as when you see the tickets and the flyers printed for Calypso Monarch, they're advertising it. The pictures on the tickets and the ads is all the soca artist guest stars, you know. It have a picture of the Kaisonians, them who taking part in the competition, and a soca artist point that out to me. A soca artist point that out to me and say,
something ain't right.
what going on here? He say, how Calypso Monarch go have my face and this one face and that one face. He say, me and see nobody in the competition and act soca artist. He guessing on the show, you know.
Of course.
And probably making more than the person who placing third in the competition on that night, you know.
Yeah.
But he could have seen the disparity in that and understand that story missing people according to Sprang Along.
Yeah, the question I have too is, I mean, the audience is a fickle thing, so you're right. The audience mightn't follow. But I always feel like the artist, I wonder how much sometimes, and you say it in this song, about the responsibility of the artist. Because it was my expectation. You don't want to call name, I will call name, right? When I see Marshall going in competition last year, first, I didn't think he have no chance to win initially. Just hearing song for song. Because you had a big song, Karina shared a big song, Kurt Allen. I mean, it was really a year of heavy hitters. If it was true Kaisonians alone in our arena, I would have liked to see that battle without not all the respect to Marshall or Michael Teja and them. Our arena with men who are custom fighting one another. It would be something else to see. And I like what you say in terms of something different than the competition, because we deserve to see that as fans.
Of course.
But I thought as he come out winning, especially with what went into him studying, the song itself was about Calypso and the history of it and stuff. I thought he was at an inflection point where he said, all right, I go be the man to take Calypso back into the fete. Because last time he was here, we asked you what songs you want to play, and you went to Dorothy was one. Remember that?
Yeah.
Dorothy is one of the greatest compositions I ever hear, because he take a party song, make it a political commentary. Or make I don't know which direction it went in, but it's a beautiful thing. So I tell myself, when I go fete this year, fete is a place, it's not much time and them kind of thing, people drunk and thing, but Marshall had an opportunity, I feel, to take that same thing, sing a snippet of it, and introduce it to youths who missing the element and might have never know attend or might have never understand why it's Kaiso and Calypso, and I didn't really see it happen. So why is I naive? I was expecting it. What you was expecting?
There's so much I could say about that, but let me say this. I can't speak to Marshall's intent, right? Me can't talk to that. But what I'm saying is, I'm glad, anyway, I'll go get back to that. My thing is, what you're appealing to, what are you appealing? Which beast you're really trying to feed is what you have to understand. And I guess people actions or lack thereof could speak to what that is, right? As you say, there are a lot of opportunities inside of it. Now, the thing with Marshall, as everybody know, he come out of that Calypso belly, right? So he understands it,
for sure.
right? As to what is his intent where Kaiso is concerned right now, again, I can't speak to that specifically. What I see happening now, as I was saying earlier, is this thing where because there is a certain kind of attention to Kaiso now, a lot of the artists who doing the more popular forms of our cultural expressions musically, realizing that is the end thing now. So, right? So we could do a Kaiso thing. And I'm not saying that is all bad. I'm saying, however, them is plasters on some deep wounds now, boy. You know what I mean? So that, you know, what you're really pandering to and it's seeming like a flash in the pan thing to me because that is what happening now. And if that should shift in the next 2 years.
We don't know.
Right? So all this, you see, Kaiso is a buzzword right now for plenty of them. It's a buzzword. And that is why I say, when I get to be part of shows like the Gone But Not Forgotten series that happening now that paying tribute to the musical icons, and I could see a soca artist struggle with learning the lyrics of a very popular Calypso classic that's supposed to be a standard.
Yeah, everything in that show will be classics, yeah?
Everything is classics. So you get trouble with the lyrics. You talk about the fact that the amount of lyrics men used to write them time make you realize that writers cheating now. And I had to tell him, well, say some. He said, well, most. I said, well, you can't say that. I said, the writers in your circuit cheating. I said, because if you try to learn one of my words, my songs, you'll catch your ass same way.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just that you're not exposed to the skill of Kaiso writers now,
Right.
or people who compose in Kaiso. And while we're on that topic, let me stick up in here. I want to draw reference to something from the Jollyman episode with Omari, where Oli was talking and you made a reference to people with different styles, and you say when you listen to Karine and you listen to me and you know when we composing. I want to say this to you. Karine is a phenomenal performer, right? As a Kaisonian, a Kaiso performer, she's a phenomenal performer.
Right.
Karine does not compose the song.
Oh, she's not writing? I didn't know that at all.
Writing.
I would assume she's writing.
Because she has the gift that singing Sandra had now.
It's
It's how people go listen to this and feel this, hey, this is not about here. This is just about calling the spade and stating the facts.
How with you?
She's a phenomenal performer, and she has a great gift, just like Sandra did, of taking a song and making a song hers. And then she has had a relationship with a writer for a long period of time
So the writer
where
know.
the writer understands certain things, right? But while we in the same sphere and the same fraternity, like I say in my song Pretender's Reminder some years ago, even if we in the same boat, I don't know your sheep from your goat, right? Because I am a composer in Calypsonia.
Right.
So I could speak to that. But that is not to say that the style of songs that she sings doesn't have its own uniqueness. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted to make that distinction because plenty time people just assume that when they see a singer singing a song that it come from the singer.
Yeah, I would assume that for Calypso for sure.
But that's because you come from the era and the school where you know the Kaisonian is the man who would have sit down and pen his own expressions. Again, because they had to feed the beast of the competition. And I'm not saying now I understand the dynamic of people who could perform and sing and can write and the people who could write and not perform.
Of course.
That exists, right? I'm saying when the motivation became winning the competition and then people realize when me had to bust my brain to learn how to write Kaiso, I could go and find a man to write a Kaiso for me, right? And so we now both getting, and this is where the shortfall of the whole
the
method of assessment, as I was talking about earlier, we getting assessed by the same thing. It's not we getting assessed as the song. It's the song. Yeah. Because getting back to your point about Marshall's win, again, Marshall is probably the most dynamic performer we have in Trinidad.
Right.
So he will always wow you with stage presentation and whatever. And there are a lot of people in the public who do not understand what the Kaiso rubric in terms of the competition is, who real arguing for the fact that Marshall presentation and the performance was the best thing. They couldn't beat him. Yeah, but if you look at the rubric, stage presentation is probably the thing that carrying the least amount of points. So my question then is...
Yeah, even if he max out that.
If he max out that, you want to tell me he do so much better in lyrical content than, let me say, Kurt Allen or Carrie?
That could be hard to argue.
Or you can argue that with me.
That would be hard.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, with you.
People is just parrot things and they don't stop and analyze. If he max out stage presentation that carrying the least amount of points, you want to tell me he was so much better than everybody else in every other category?
Or everybody else's presentation was so far off.
So far off that he get 4 points and them get what, 2?
Yeah.
So I'm saying sometimes people have to stop and analyze and understand that it have a number of other things that could be and are at play.
Right, of course, of course.
Understand?
It's remember the academics, when you talk about the rubric, right? Like now, I seen a shift lecturing for maybe about 14, 15 years now, right? And it was the same thing, where you have a set rubric from since I used to study. And everybody had to conform to that. Now, academics is not I can't get anybody to write no paper for me, right? You had to write your own paper.
Thank you very much.
I must come up with it. Otherwise, they say it's plagiarism, right? Now, we're in an era now where it starts to get hard with plagiarism because of AI.
Exactly.
So I was with some students this weekend trying to help them do a paper where the paper basically tell them, go and interview a CEO. Tell ChatGPT, you is the CEO, and you find questions to ask ChatGPT and they go answer as the CEO.
Wow.
It shows you how ridiculous the idea now is of going in the library, find for a book reference, this, that. The AI may change it. So I finally see in a space where academics, the rubrics change. I can tell you that. It's not the same.
Yeah,
you cannot assess a student because you can't tell where they get the information
You can't tell where they get it. And that is my thing. So you have to find some other method to analyze, how sound are you really in this thing? Because as I say, and then the competition, remember, they are judging a particular performance in a particular
at the
moment. Right? In a particular moment. So, if you work hard enough, you could engineer anybody to appeal to that moment and the rubric that is guiding that moment.
I suppose.
You could pretty much engineer anybody once they're solid enough. I mean, come on, it's a man that's going to competition and for example, last year in Skinner Park, I had a slip up where I forget a line that before that moment, I never forget a line. Right? I wasn't the only person who forget lyrics that night. But I know I'm not going to get spared with that as some other people because there are people who forget the whole line and thing and still end up in finals and still end up in Skinner Park.
I tell you that when it happened.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not the first time it happened. It has happened over years. Right? And so I'm saying that you have to understand that while it might look like all are we in the same, it's not the same.
It's different.
Thing,
it's
right?
different.
It have levels to the thing, and it have, you had to be discerning about the thing and understand that not all are we the same. It's like, yes, we in the same sphere, and they might be considered my colleagues, but you can't tell me you're trying to rate a man who could do carpentry, masonry, electrician, and everything else with somebody who could only do carpentry.
Yeah. It could be hard to assess. And it's one of the things that I get respect for because I remember seeing the performance. He performed last in Skinner Park last time.
Yeah.
And I tell myself, when I see it, I say, oh, good. And then when it was the first verse,
Yeah, first verse.
say, wait, because I hear and I looking for you to beat people last year, because the songs, Kurt Allen, as you say, some of these songs lyrically was just better, right?
Yeah.
But you know what happened when Marshall come in the competition? So I say, right. And then I see it, I say, but I tell myself inside still, because the truth was, I don't know that last year, while they had real good songs and things, I don't know that they had these big standout performances or anything spectacular happenings. And then you had 10. I had one man in particular who I sure you beat, which is I don't understand how Gypsy. Somebody had to explain that to me, who in your world, boy. I don't know what Gypsy had no presentation. He couldn't get points for that, right? This song, I guess, is Gypsy, he always deliver, you know what I mean? He on top of the game with that, but is it the greatest song lyrically now, you know?
And then a lot of times, and as I always say this, right? Yes, you understand you have Kaiso judges, but the judges is people too now. And I'm saying that to say, like this year, Gypsy didn't make it to Skinner Park, right?
No.
And it have people who actually asking the question, how they gonna leave out Gypsy?
Yeah,
The
regardless,
first man I
what the
hear
name.
say that, I ask him, I say,
What he sing?
you hear the song Gypsy sing? And no, I ain't really hear the song. So how you know, how you could ask why
That's
they
a
leave
Trini
him
thing, you know. I hear a
out?
man say, young brother must win. I say, well, how much of his song you hear?
You understand? How you know that they've unfair to leave him out and you ain't him here where he's singing?
Of
And
course.
plenty times, people are just personality now, boy. People are just, that is one of the reasons why I stopped taking part in certain regional competitions, right? Mind you, it have people who been taking part in them regional competition years before me, you know. Years before I was even dreaming to be in Kaiso 10th and competition. But after I had come into the competition and almost off the bat, it was Skinner Park, the Mashgra, wherever.
Right.
The first year I decided, well, let me check out some of these regional competitions and see where it is. People mouth long. What Shak doing here? Them singing longer than me, you know.
My
What Shak
pension
doing
coming.
here? Thing. And I start to realize now, and then I start looking at how some of the people who coordinating these competitions and judging how they greeting me, and I start to realize, yo, the purpose of this, this supposed to be a kind of incubation space for people who, you know, probably didn't get a space in a tent or a major
Right.
competition or up and coming. I had to stop taking part in these things because the minute I walk in,
Problems.
I could create a bias, right? And again, for the level of the competition. So, I mean, I win South Monaco a few times, I say, you know what? Time for me to get at a rest.
But the Young Kings and thing. Is going?
I have never entered Young Kings, and that is for some very specific reasons that I don't know if I should say them thing here.
Oh, but you ain't going in.
But nah, I'm not going. Funny thing enough is overtures have been made for me to
I would
enter
imagine.
competition, the Young Kings competition,
Yeah.
by people who coordinating the thing in years past. I nah.
Same way.
Yeah, I ain't going there. More power to whoever going there. And the people who in the Kaiso circles go know exactly what I'm talking about.
you.
But I'm not interested in that.
Got you.
I'm not interested. That is not to disparage the competition in any
Right.
way and the accolades that go bring and the benefits that go bring to the people who take part and who win. Because
Of
I just
course.
tell you, I'm working with an artist who been taking part in
Right,
the Queen
yeah.
competition.
So you're
She
not
came-
against it,
she
it's
came
just for you.
second in the Queens last year.
Nice.
And
Nice.
if that is where you want to go to express yourself, you do that, right? I work with you on a song, you take your song and go where you see fit. Now, I might give you my opinion on what I think about the arena that you're going into,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's still your decision to make how you want to treat with that.
Yeah, your career.
But I not treat. I contemplated it. I contemplated it on a couple of occasions. But then again, when you start to understand the inner workings of the thing and you see some of the criteria just to enter the competition, and you've been in the business long enough to know some of the behind the scenes thing, I was like, me ain't coming here for that.
Yeah, it's in with your energy.
That ain't worth my energy, and that ain't worth the quality of my music. That is still, however, over the years, my calypsos have been nominated among that entity's top calypsos, because you know every year NACC does do.
Of course.
So songs like Rogue and One, Generation Next always make the top 20, 40, whatever, and I am grateful for that. But in terms of throwing myself inside that particular competition,
You're not on that.
I'm not interested. I good.
Well, let me go with selfish time now, because any chance I get to talk about Blueprint, I will talk about it. You know. And this song this year is so similar to that for me, right? Because you know, you hear Calypsonians over the years, those who with us still, those who go on, right? Especially writers, complain about the judges. And you have a way of doing that is unique. It's one of the things I always feel like Skinner Park deserves its own prize. But the Blueprint for me, just listening through this song, what was your thought process coming up with that at the time?
Again, Blueprint is one of them songs that write long before people hear it. Interestingly, the whole judging part of it was mentioned as par for the course. The song really was about a bigger thing than that. It was about exactly what we talk about when we talk about the judge asking me if I ever see the comments. It was about this perception that Kaiso have to stick in this particular format and concept, and you know what I mean? And for me, that crazy now, boy, because the Calypsonians who have always stood out and helped the music not only survive but evolve, is the Calypsonians who always go against the grain. And if you listen to Blueprint and mention some of them, the second verse of Blueprint says, in 1973, the late great Shorty change up the whole game when he sang Indrani. Don't talk about when he sang Shanti. Certain Kaisonians wanted to hang Shorty. In 1986, you could recall the Bacchanal when David Rudder hit we with Biba, he a girl. Some Kaiso critics try to give the man ridicule, and they tell him, no, that a Kaiso, David, you breaking all the rules. You understand? Mm-hmm. And that is a fact. As a matter of fact, they ridiculed David's expression of Calypso so much that the following year, Gypsy singing Sing Rambam. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That
As
was
a response to
referencing that. Chalk does singing Quacks and Invalids was a reference to that.
Mm-hmm. What's it not to be one of the biggest songs of all time?
Not only that, David has gone on to become revered as one of our greatest Calypsonians. Mm-hmm. You overs? So for me, and again, I was always drawn to the unique Calypsonians, as I always say. It's about a number of Calypsonians that I love. Mm-hmm. But top of the list for me in terms of the Calypsonians who influenced me the most, and without them, it would now know Mistah Shak. Top of the list is Winston Bailey. Mm. Right? Mm-hmm. Followed very closely by Leroy Callis. And then Emerald Phillip, Brother Valentino, right? And if I had to put a fourth, it go be Shorty, right? That is not to say I don't, because, okay, for example, Johnny King is a man who I study for melody and storytelling, but melody is the thing, right? Crow, you understand? In terms of conviction and execution of song, Rio, storytelling, it have a long list of Calypsonians who because I consider myself a student at the art form of Kaiso, and I think I'll always be that. We have a number of Calypsonians, but it had certain men who was head of the list, and Shadow, who was considered one of the most unorthodox, who he himself get challenged in the Kaiso space plenty in terms of what he present. So, you know, Blueprint was really about addressing that how come after all these experiences and realizing we ridicule some of our greatest when they was innovating the music and still make our about turn and come back to love it. How we still going through that, boy?
And trying to box people in.
So I would tell people, this year, I was unsurprised. In 2008, I had a song called Freedom Music. People said it wasn't a Kaiso. As a matter of fact, let me give you an experience. Two of my biggest supporters is a husband and wife, you know, people who very senior to me, and an Archie from Trin City. The first time they saw me was on a Kaiso showcase stage, 2008, singing that same Freedom Music. And I got the story from two perspectives, from them, and then I had another partner who I went naps with, who was at the time working with Guardian. He was covering the opening. And the both of them in two separate instances tell me, when I came on the stage, it had people in the audience who was quarreling. Where you going with that? Kaiso to the thing. And by the time I was finished the second verse, and leave and get encore and come back, and then leave and get next encore. And gradually, some of them same people who was quarreling started to turn wrong.
They with you.
Turn wrong. Right? Now, that didn't stop people from saying it's not a Kaiso.
Right.
But I get that with Freedom Music. I get it with Rogue. I get it with our song named Kaiso Blues. I get it with The Mass. I get it with a song I did in 2020 called Same Old Monkey Pants all the time. Right? But again, I'm not swayed by that, because I know when people listen to the music, and the people who say it's not Kaiso, I could deconstruct all my songs and show you in every aspect where the Kaiso is. You know? I could show you where the Kaiso is musically, I could show you where the Kaiso is conceptually, and I could show you where the Kaiso is lyrically. I could deconstruct it. But because it is constructed in a way that is not run-of-the-mill, it's like, I see it with the musicians too. Now, we have great musicians in Trinidad.
Right.
But it's the approach and the mindset. So when they come into play, let's say, for attend to a competition, a lot of them approach it like it's a hustle, because they know they come in and get 20 a similar format. It's just different chord progression, different horn lines, but same rhythmic
course.
pattern, whatever. So it's an easy
Light
walk.
work, yeah.
Right?
And
So
you
they
come
just
in
with a
last now.
mindset.
You come in last
When
to
I
perform.
come now and drop my music in front of them, they brain they start to rebel because they didn't come for that. They didn't come to play
No,
music.
they come to work so hard.
They may come to play music.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Them come to run through the thing and take a hustle and play. They may come to play music. So when I come with all this music now it's not that they can't recognize it or they don't have the skill to play it, but they come with a particular mindset, and there is an overarching perception of calypso that even the musicians is approach it a kind of way. So they know it's a competition, all right, cool, I know hard work.
Yeah.
Until they see real music in front of them.
And vex.
And then they start to complain about, but Shak, you could do this and do this and trying to tell me how to write my Kaiso. And then when I get on the next side and start to cuss them, now got out of place. Then
you're
something
bad.
with me. Right? But come on, you know,
Yeah,
so
something ain't right.
so you know, it's so much about you see, this society for some reason feels that it is only the responsibility and the task of the artists or the practitioners of the art form to uphold it and carry it. You know? And the people who say they are supporters and lovers of this culture, they need to realize they have a role too. They have a role too, because as I said earlier, this is not just about a genre of music that happened to happen here and we just celebrate it every carnival, although that is where it end up looking like. Calypso is woven so much more into our everyday fabric than we just acknowledge.
Yeah.
If we really understand how great that thing is, you see, like how we now start to acknowledge the greatness of Pan in a real everyday way in Trinidad, Kaiso had to take that turn. But again, there is a role for the public and there's a role for the practitioners and the administrators too. But when it gains, you know, this kind of counterproductive fight from all these angles is make it real difficult.
It's create that disconnect.
Yes.
But Blueprint again was one of them for me where, and that's why when I heard this song, I said, nah boy, this is, to me, I don't care about the two songs sonically very different.
Yeah.
When I listened to the message, I said, nah boy, this Blueprint 2.0.
Yeah.
Because it's a message that broader than just the competition is really about the art form.
But it's a running thing because it's things that are seeing that either never stop, get worse, or morph into something else.
Right.
So I doesn't want to be, like I tell people all the time, it are people who really of the opinion that all I just do is sing about politician and beat politician because I all they exposed to from me. I doesn't really have no interest in singing political guys, right? But here's the thing, and this is why when I hear Calypsonians saying that it had too much politics in Kaiso, I just want to know where they're going with that and why they're talking so much dotishness. Because I'll tell you why. Any political goings on in the country, yes, it might be political on the surface, but it's not just about the political thing. Because when you have political upheavals and dissension in the society, it affects the society economically, socially, psychologically. You understand what I'm saying? So it's difficult when things are amplified to a certain point to not address that.
I with you.
You know, so for me, and again, that is why, coming back to another point I was making, when you talk earlier about the fact that there was a time where a Kaisonian could write a song that you would not be sure what category to put it in. And that's why I tell you, when I saw the argument between Calypsonians taking place backstage about Rogue, it confused me for a bit because it had Kaisonians who find it was humorous.
Right.
It was a humorous song. And I didn't understand
I don't get it.
Till I get it to a point because there were things in the song that I expressed in a humorous way, and because I was lampooning corrupt police officers in that way, they saw that as humor, which is an element of humorous calypso. My thing is, however, and this is why for me, I understand what the categories thing was trying to do, but that and all was a little duplicitous. Because, again, the artists and the calypsonians I learned from, a man could write one song that could encapsulate political commentary, social commentary,
right?
humor, everything in one song.
Yeah.
So some years ago, I saw somebody make a suggestion that they should revamp Kaiso Monarch and make it that the calypsonians must write a political, a human thing to judge the breadth of the And
but
I
you could do
responded
that
to that
sometimes.
person and I say, you ever listen to any of my Kaisos? Because if you listen to any of my Kaisos that you consider political, you go here, who could tell me, boy, I don't have humor in it?
Yeah, boys, I always want to talk about that because it's almost like I always remember when I saw going back to the politics a little bit with Stuart Young Fall.
Yeah.
And I come from a time where that would have been intent.
Of course.
Of course, there was a gap because that could have happened in November and it would be still fresh come February. Now social media go distill that, but it make it more of a challenge for the artists to bring the topics. Because and I go through that every week. I had to talk about political thing after it done share 100 times.
Correct.
So I had to think about how to make it funny or make it connect, right?
And then here's the other thing that happens in a Kaiso. People have to understand that the format of a Kaiso is a finite thing, especially in a competition perspective. You have 3 verses, not less than 3, not more than 4. But in them 3 or 4 verses and choruses, you are to encapsulate the ideas you're trying to put
The
forward.
whole story.
There's no way you could fit, even if you're just singing about politics, there's no way you could fit every aspect of every single situation politically in any one Kaiso. But you will always meet people who will say, you should have sing about this and you should have sing about that and you should have put that in the song. And then I'll say to them, well, I had to write 15 verses.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, the year when I sing Boa, I probably had about 15 verses. And if you're coming
In the
10th, you would have heard that because the 10th is, again, that is why the 10th experience is so important.
Yeah.
Because when you come in the 10th and you hear the 3 I deliver and I go off the stage and you call me back 4 times and realize I come back with 4 new verses.
Of course.
I remember Black Sage saying to me, he said, but you in the mold of a real ancient calypso. And he said, because I don't even know how you just remember all them verses.
Yeah.
But when it come from me now, and so I'm saying, in the 10 people that I experienced that, hear what is happening in Trinidad now. The majority of people who you see in Skinner Park or looking at Skinner Park, whether it's on TV, online, or wherever, the majority of them don't go to no tent.
They hear any song for the
them
first
just hear
time.
the songs for the first time in Skinner Park. So 2 things happening. You frame a reference limited, and you're also seeing Skinner Park as the representation of this Kaiso that there is.
Of course.
And you understand that it have 200 more that didn't make it. That some of them good.
Of course.
Plenty of them good.
Yeah.
And probably should have be there. Right? So, it's plenty. Like I am saying, we get to this place where the society in general get real out of touch with Kaiso. Real out of touch with Kaiso and what applies in the Kaiso space and with Kaiso. And we had to figure out how to massage that back in without morphing it into soca.
Yeah, but Boa was one of them because to me, when you listen to Boa properly, and when you look at that Skinner Park performance, which I think people always go back to it, they have some iconic Skinner Park moments. Gypsy toilet paper, Boa. It has some of them where them things will never die. But when you look at the construction of Boa, right? You come on the stage again, you're saying that people who you go and perform in front of them don't know the song at all, right? They might be hearing it for the first time. Your first introduction to the crowd is that it's a stick fight song.
Yeah.
Right? Your costume, everything, your vibe when you come out as a stick fight tune. Then you start to hear it now. But like the tune is about Kaiso and Kaiso man get in trouble. And next thing you know is a political commentary.
That's what I tell you. The song was constructed inside. Now, let me tell you. I mean, I always know historically that indelibly linked is calendar culture and Kaiso. Them 2 things have always been linked. The first vocal recording of Kaiso was Julian Wright Rose singing stick fight songs, right? Singing calendar song. So Kaiso and stick fight have always been indelibly linked. Calendar culture have always been indelibly linked. So I always had the concept of wanting to combine them 2 things in a song. But the beauty about Boa is, here what make me write Boa. When I do songs like Blueprint and them songs, particularly Blueprint and Kaiso Blues and thing, it had Calypsonians asking, well, who Shak feel is to be, because the thing about Calypso and people in the Calypso fraternity, they have no problem with Kaiso exposing all kind of thing, But the minute Kaiso hold the mirror up to themselves,
Problems.
we're doing. So they didn't appreciate that too much. They acknowledge the soundness of the song, but in terms of, so who he feel he is and why he had to say them thing. So if you listen to Boa, I basically tell you my story. I start by telling you my story, right? I start off the story by saying, as a young Kaiso lover, I get in the Kaiso thing, and I quickly realize this thing just like a stick fight ring. So in the Kaiso Gael, you must be fearless and forward, because you could get real busted if you're careless and coward. So with my Kaisos as my boy, I walk in the area, I telling you about me. But that was simply to tell you, this is my journey. This is how I understand this thing. So by the time I get to the chorus now, I don't justify why I could cut all these people ass as a Kaisonian. You cannot question where I get the authority to cut all these people ass, because this is my journey. I understand the purpose of the thing. I come through a certain line of fire, right? That harden me and shape me and mold me. I get groomed by certain Kaisonians, and this is the result of that.
Right.
So you can't take away my right as a Kaisonian to now tell this person, nah, you deserve some licks for this, and whatever. But that's my role, and as I keep saying, I never just walk out and just embrace I appropriate the title of Kaisonian on myself. People give me that because historically the title of Kaisonian is always a thing that was bestowed on you. Right? Plenty of people in the Kaiso they like Kaiso, and nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand it's a different level between when you just decide to proclaim yourself a Kaisonian, as opposed to when you do a certain kind of work and people start to tell you that Kaiso.
Yeah. As they see you.
When they ordain you that and that, they see that in you. And so that was my thing. I remember when I released Boa, the first time Boa played on I-95, the evening they played. The first call I get was from Stalin. Right? At the time, I didn't even have Stalin number. I mean, we had met one another before, but I didn't even have his contact. And I see this strange number come up on my phone. When I answer the phone, he say, "Hey, Shak." Well, I make out the voice one time. I say, "Uncle Leroy, what you say?" He say, "I did." He say, "I just call him to tell you that is how you just do it, man. That is how you just do it." And we get into a little more conversation and, But for a man like that, I wasn't trying to impress Stalin with that song, right? But to get that kind of endorsement coming back, that he could have see the Kaiso in that and the Kaisonian in that, So that was why I construct Boa like that. So Boa is really two Kaiso in one. It's two Kaiso in one. Is me telling my story of my journey in the Kaiso Gael, and then telling this is the fire I went through in the Kaiso Gael. So now I have the authority to address this, address that, address the other.
And the year is what, 2014?
2014.
So one of the things, and again, as you're talking about Kaiso, is that the timing of that song, it's impeccable. 2010, everybody loved the partnership and everybody feel that is the solution. And by 2014...
So, and here's the funny thing again. I had the concept of Boa since 2012, beginning of 2013.
Serious.
But I know it wasn't the time.
Yeah.
And that's the next thing that's happened with my songs. In some cases, I just know it's not the time. In other cases, the song and the circumstances surrounding it, they show me it's not time yet. So, for example, Brand New Lover was one of them songs.
Right.
As I tell you, that initially started to be worked on since 2012. And as much as I loved it, and it had something about it keep telling me, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. And over the years, couple people who knew about the song would always be asking me, what about this song? What about that song? I still get it with other songs that people who close enough to me know I have involved.
Right.
And, they know the potential of the song, so they're eager for it to come out. And I just always had to read the tea leaves, and allow myself to be guided by more than just my desire to put out the song.
Of course.
And understand when is the timing for the song. And the timing not dictated by how well it might do in the competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more dictated by society, what it feel, what it call for.
What it call for. When the song and the circumstances are wrong, and the song say, hey, it's time for that.
But let me ask you this. As somebody who, as a delivery, a proponent of the thing, as you said, they bless you as Kaiso. You seem to be somebody who also studied the art form. Because if we talk about the show, what was the name of the show? Gone But Not Forgotten.
Yeah.
So who was your artist that you were delivering that day?
Well, that was, for me, they asked me to do Shorty. Well, I replaced somebody on the show. Initially, it was supposed to be Gypsy doing Shorty. But,
Sorry?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Excuse?
Well, I guess, I mean, of course, when he and Shorty would have had a personal relationship and that kind of thing, and I guess they felt that, he would have known the music.
But no, he's a man, no lyrics. Eh?
Yeah.
But
for some reason...
I see you do plenty performances and of Shorty songs and renditions where man might believe somebody else would sing them song.
Well, I actually kind of got that comment after the first two of that Gone But Not Forgotten show.
Right.
Napa and Sapa, different people came and tell me, that I make the songs mine. I wasn't aiming to do that, because I have very high reverence for the work of these guys. And I guess that is why I just approach it like that. So that is why I think the audience, particularly in South, wasn't as accommodating or forgiving for some of the other artists who they realized was struggling with the lyrics. Because they felt like these are standards in we culture. For example, okay, well, he might be persona non grata now, but Sean Combs, Puffy Puff Daddy P. Diddy.
Right.
I don't know how many people remember on his first incarnation of making the band, when he had the hip-hop group Ness and all that.
I remember them, yeah.
There was an episode where he asked all of them to recite the lyrics for Sugar Hill Gang's, I can't remember the name of the song now.
Rapper's Delight?
Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
And they didn't know it. And he sent them to walk in the snow to go and get cheesecake by some store that was how much of a blocks away.
Of course.
And he told them that by the time they come back, they need to know every lyric of that song. And his justification was, you all cannot say you want to be the next generation representing hip-hop and you do not know the lyrics of the song that is credited as one of the most influential and one of the first recognized hip-hop songs, word for word. Yeah? There was a time we used to hold that kind of discipline and reference for our music. We don't do that again. So people could come in the dance without washing their foot now. Right? But really and truly, there are people in the society who still know that time and understand the importance of that. So you can't come in and say, you want to be the next big Kaiso, even this next big soca artist, and you're not familiar with Kaiso standards in our art form. We ain't talking about obscure songs, We're talking about classics from iconic Calypsonians who you're supposed to be able to just sing the brass line off the top of your head. And some of our most popular soca artists struggle with some of them lyrics.
Yeah.
And I am saying, even if you don't know the song verbatim, you should have a working knowledge enough of the songs to know. You know what's interesting to me? When the promoter for that called me, he asked me about doing Art and Making Love. Right? That's the song I start with. The funny thing about Art and Making Love, and I even surprised myself with what we're talking about here.
Right.
I am familiar with the song, but I never sat down to learn Art and Making Love. So when he asked for the song, I said, yeah, no problem. When I pawned the song and started to go through it with a focus on the lyrics now and started to realize to myself, but I know the song. I know all the lyrics. I never sit down to actively learn the lyrics. A lot of Stalin songs like that with me, Shadow songs. I never sit down as an exercise and say,
memorize it.
Never. And just know the lyrics to all these songs because I immerse myself so much in it, and it was a wrong me too because again, I grew up in a musical family with people who love Kaiso. It was only as a young adult I learned that my father was writing Kaiso when he was going to school and beating people who is Calypsonians now who he went to school with.
Right.
I learned that as a young adult. Now I always know my father loved Kaiso, but I never knew my father was a amateur Kaisonian in his school days. I never knew that.
So it in you.
In me and my mother's side of the family too. I have an aunt, my mother's sister, who to me, she's a kind of Kaiso encyclopedia. We could have conversation about Kaiso for hours. Effortlessly and don't know where the time go.
I think it's something a lot of people do now in the art form. They study it because you say in lyrics. In terms of chords and things, same thing for you, learning the greats?
Same thing. Well, again, I don't want to make it seem like Kaiso is the only music I was exposed to. As a youth man,
you
I
play.
was into my hip-hop too.
Right,
and
of course.
My dancehall and my dub and whatever. I still like other forms of music.
Mm-hmm.
But the root of everything I do is Kaiso. So plenty of the progressions and the thing that I use. It's the thing I learned from Kaiso.
Right.
Because we also don't understand how musically complex Kaiso always was.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
as Omari said in his episode too, Kaiso was the music that always used to absorb whatever was happening.
Popular
so
culture.
even in the time of the blues and the jazz
Or the
and
big
thing,
band, yeah.
and big band song, that was Kaiso. So when you listen and you hear men like Relator playing the chords, the kind of chords they have, or you listen to the arrangements of the late Earl Rodney and them fellas,
It's chords.
I just pay attention to them things. And one of the things people, just the other day, one of the musicians telling me, he said, Shak, you come with some different kind of chords, where he's coming with them chords. even the person who has worked with closely in terms of doing my horns and thing, Oral Rodriguez, big up Oral, who is, remember the Police band and the leader Razor Sharp band. Oral is a musician, right? An accomplished musician too. And anytime we had a work, I will always send him my song. Most of the time, it's already structured chord progressions, everything. And he's always had to ask me,
How you come up with
these
that?
chords? This very song. When I started
beautiful.
calling, he was like, Shak, men don't use them chords in Kaiso again, you know? But when you hear the color and the feel, now, people listening to it, they wouldn't know all that minutia. All they will know is the music giving them a particular feeling. But me, as the practitioner and the scientist and the engineer of these things, I know the reason why you feeling so is because I use a flat 5 here. Right? Or I use a sus4.
You're right. Yeah, so deliberate.
I use a added 9th, I use a 11th, I use a 13th.
Right.
All you know is that when that song reaches that part, you feel in that particular kind of way. I don't know, I can't speak to it, but I could assume listening to the Kaisos that have out there, I don't know how much attention
People pay.
Mendes pay to that kind of thing still in constructing Kaiso. I don't know.
But when you learn to play music like that, do you learn formally or you teach yourself, or how you learn to play guitar like that?
Nah, guitar, I learned to play guitar from watching my old man. My old man used to play guitar, and as a matter of fact, my father had I can't remember what brand of guitar it was. It was one of them big, heavy steel string guitar, not even like the nice ones now. The action was always high, so the string
God,
here
yeah,
and
boy.
the fret quite here.
Your hand in trouble.
And they had some cast iron tuning keys. Big guitar. Well, at the time I small, so the guitar seemed like it 10 times bigger than me.
Yeah.
And over the years, when they realized I was leaning towards music, they buy all kind of little toy guitar for me. Me playing them thing.
You play that.
You can't touch my father guitar just so. But the minute he leave the house,
You're trying.
I take in his guitar and play it because I want to play. I don't just want to play like him, I want to play his guitar. Right? And it wasn't until a day I get lost playing the guitar and didn't hear him come home. And he walk in and see me playing the guitar and I freeze now because it's like, and he just watch me and say, that what you doing?
You know your hard thing.
And so that was my foundation, and again, always exposed to a lot of music.
Right.
And then my parents were always involved in things culturally. Was church choir, was
church.
Best Village, was Saparia Choral. And then they come with that because as youths growing up in Point 14, both of them was also involved in a lot of things of culture and art and things too, right? Both sides of the family was like that. So that was a natural thing in my household, you know what I mean? So where I learned all that music, it was a number of things. I was looking at my father, listening to his taste in music, developing my own taste in music, exposing myself to every kind of music it have out there.
You could see that,
know?
eh? You could see your exposure to music broad.
Yeah. So,
And that's where I'd say if in gone but not forgotten. Of all the artists they was paying tribute to, how much of them you feel you could have gone and represent?
Penguin, Stalin, Shorty, Explain. I know. The night after the first rehearsal, Nappy come out after going through his paces in the band room and he say, I and Shalon Bailey stand up outside. He say, Shak, a man tell me you could have come and sing all them songs in this show.
Who Nappy was doing?
Nappy was doing Stalin.
I see.
He say, a man tell me you could have come and sing all them songs, boy. I say, yeah. He say, all your fellas different, boy. I learned
He
them
come from
lyrics
that.
So I was a bit confused when he said it, because what a lot of people may not know, the neighborhood that I grew up in Saparia is a place called Prana Homes. It's the very same neighborhood where the Montanos used to live, and that was the home of Ecstatic from Panasonic Express days.
Oh, okay.
So when them rehearsing, I used to be there in the band room. Well, they used to rehearse in the garage at first, then they built a band room, and I used to be in the mix of the thing. But my fascination, strange enough, was never Marshall. Of course, he acknowledged the phenomenon that he was as a performer, but I used to go there to look at the musicians.
Yeah, the greatness of the music.
Joey and Vincent Rivers, right? And so years later, when my brother and I ended up in a band together, and he playing guitar and I playing bass, people used to see a lot of parallels, and they didn't know how much of a parallel it really was now, boy.
Gotcha.
Right? So, it's a whole lot of different things we was exposed to, just, sometimes not even intentionally.
Yeah.
That helped to mold all of that now.
I would say, because I saw you in Stalin funeral doing We Can Make It If You Try.
Yeah.
So when my mother told me she go in the show, she said she liked to talk about it. She said, Shak in the show. I said, well, it had to be Stalin. So then I was surprised. Well, I guess not surprised when I hear Shorty, because the embodiment, I think the height, the build, everything. When you do Shorty, it must move people.
Again, I have been exposed to all that music. Them music was the classics and the popular music in them time, and as a little fella.
Right.
So again, I consider myself a student of the art form. Now, I'm saying that now consciously, but them time I didn't know that is what I was doing. All I know is that these men and the songs and the personas as artists used to just captivate me. So I immersed in it. I really didn't know that I was studying this art form.
Right.
It's not until later in my life I started to realize that is what was happening.
Gotcha.
Right? And so now I do it with a more conscious intent. Right? But I never stopped studying them fellas' music, because them fellas have a wealth of music that you could never exhaust.
Yeah.
And then I am always interested by very unique artists, right? Even outside of Kaiso, I go had things that I go listen to, motifs I go listen to in other genres of music, and like it, and try to see if I could find a way to have some representation of that in my Kaiso when I created it,
Makes sense.
Because musically, when something move here, you ain't stopping to study what is the genre, wherever. This thing happen, and it move here, it create a thing. You know what I mean? So you ain't trying to exactly mimic that, but you understand what it creates. So now you're going back in your wheelhouse now and try to figure out how I could create that mood. What inside of this could help create that mood, create that moment, create that, you know what I mean? That is how I just think about the thing.
Well, boy, in the words of Stalin, before I let you go out and tell you, that is how you do the thing. Because competition or no competition, you could expect to see and hear and feel something different from Shak.
Yeah.
Whether it's your own compositions, now composing, I don't go and listen to. Tell me the artist's name again.
Calissa Charles Map. The song she doing is the original Superwoman. But as I say, I've been working with her for years. In 2018, she made it to Skinner Park for the very first time with a composition we worked on called The Circus.
Well, I go and listen to all them things and see how much of you I hear. And I had to see how much. I had to see if I could find it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's other artists who are right for Rivaldo London, who is also in the semi-final.
Right.
Last year, he did a song called What If. That was my composition as well. Khadija Jeremiah, who is in the semi-finals this year too. I wrote for her some years ago. So, as I say, me and they but a day.
Good. Well, they can't move you out whether you're there or not. You're there. And whether it's your compositions or it's a tribute, I think you're always on top of things. It's a very impressive thing to see you do that you can make it if you try or do shorty songs. It's something I show you here all the time.
As a matter of fact, for that funeral, let me tell you what happened for Stalin funeral, because I don't know if you remember, a couple days before they had a tribute for him on the promenade in Sando.
I remember
the television, right? And his daughter actually asked me to do Morecambe because she knows one of the songs that I just do. So I did Morecambe there. For the funeral, I wasn't carded to perform initially, but they didn't have anybody to do the We Could Make It, and his grandson was done doing some songs, other people was doing other songs, and they felt like We Could Make It should have been represented. And she was kind of hesitant to call me because they don't call on me for the tribute.
Right.
And talking to that same Oral Rodriguez, Oral say, Wham to you, you don't understand who your father is, Mistah Shak, call him and ask him. And she called and asked me, and I was like, why you even asking me? If you want me to do that, I could come and do that. I didn't have to think twice about it, because these songs I could always draw upon in a moment, because as I say, these are songs that I grew up on and study, and you know what I mean? And I take that very seriously whenever I have to present these men work, whether I am commissioned to do so or I doing it of my own volition. I don't take them things lightly, because these are the artists and the songs and the compositions and the music that are the building blocks of who I am and how I understand music in general and Kaiso more specifically. So I don't take them things lightly at all.
Well, if you say you could get called on the spot, I'm going to put you on the spot. You know? we ending all these interviews. I tried to put Mary on the spot last week. I end up on the spot. So we ending all these interviews, seeing if we could put men on the spot here.
Let me see what you going to do.
Sometimes I just
after
put
I
myself,
talk all that pretty talk, don't
let
make
me see.
let
Let me see.
Sometimes
I just be putting myself on the spot, you know. And I'm a musician here, let me make sure I'm tuned on thing. I ain't going to set me up here, you know. What that song?
Yeah, I get it.
Let me see. They have an open competition for the most travel Calypsonian. Well, the people was shocked to see the finalists was Sparrow and me. Sparrow went Nigeria and he went to Spain. He went to Ethiopia, then he went back again. He went Cincinnati, then he went to Ohio. But I was the favorite people ball out.
San Fernando, Palo Seco, Cono, Ripolo, Siro, then Monri, Puerto Rio, Claro, Kumoto, Gasparello, El Socorro, Mon Diablo, Toco, and Mayara, brother.
I've been everywhere. Only the man, I see him do it, and I say they rehearsed that about 10, 15 times. I say he couldn't do it on the spot.
Listen, again, that is one of the songs that, again, I grew up on, and I was fascinated by Rio rattling off these things.
Yeah, boy.
So I listened to that song over and over, and again, I just love the song. I ain't trying to learn it. I just love the song. And then at some point realizing, but wait, I know the song. And
without trying to learn it.
I know the song, because I listened to it enough times.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is that years later, in one of my concerts that I had in 20, when that was, some years ago in South, I had a show called Acts and Tracks. And Rio was the guest. And I had the opportunity to actually perform the song with Rio. Listen, people don't even know what that moment was for me. In that moment, although there was an audience and we was entertaining the audience and they was reacting, that audience melted away from me, you know. Because this is a man who, I can't think of a Rio Kaiso that I was never interested in, right? And Traveling Man was probably on top of the listener. So to be able to have the opportunity to render this song alongside the man was like, it was like the moment when, a moment that went viral too. After an interview on WAC, myself, Abebele, and Myron went to look for Stalin. He was already ill.
I remember that.
And we went just to vibe. And actually, Myron wanted to check him, and he didn't know where he was living. So I taken him there now, and Abebele with us. And we get to the place, and you know, we just initially went to check him, and Auntie Patsy said, "No, you could film if all you want, and wherever, you know." And that was impromptu too. Abibele just pull the guitar and say, "Well, we can't just come here and talk for Kaisonian, you know, we are sing for the man," and start to play. We could make it, and we started extempo the way we could make it. But to do all of that in Stalin presence, and then hear him now, even though he was already under the conditions of, ailing with the stroke and thing. And Stalin is joining in and trying to sing with us.
Yeah, you feel that energy.
That was a moment. At first, I didn't even know how I felt about it being recorded, because I had gone to look for Stalin a few times before that. And I didn't take a picture. I didn't take a video, nothing, because I know everybody was going and doing that, and that was my aim for the thing, right? I went to look for the man. Nobody didn't have to know I go in and whatever. But that moment when Auntie Patsy gave us the go-ahead and, Myron filmed it, and then next thing I know, everybody is sending me this thing and it gone viral. And again, that wasn't the intent, but it was a moment for me. Yeah. That was priceless.
That was beautiful. You know what's priceless too? Real face when you deliver that chorus.
Yeah, because he didn't know.
It didn't seem so. It didn't seem so.
Because I asked him if I say doing Traveling Man. I say, anyway, I say, I feel I might join you while you're doing this song. He watched me. He said, to sing that song. I say, well, we're going to see how it goes now. So, in the moment, we talked that before. So, in the moment, I didn't know he was going to call me. He said, because he was doing, I think he was doing Back to Basics before.
Okay, yeah. Bad song too.
And when he reached the last verse, and the crowd, he said, see me? And things, so traveling man, me and Mistah Shak go do it. I almost was like, because I talked with him halfway thinking,
yeah, but you ain't know
me
it
and
real.
Mistah Shak go do it. I say, so I don't know if he was trying to put me on the spot, if he wanted to really test me to see. So that when I started to deliver the lyrics now, and when I reach the chorus and I think it's the look on his face.
It was beautiful.
The
It was
look on his face,
something
yeah.
else to see.
Yeah, it was you know, again, those are moments that I can't even really describe them thing, you know, very, very priceless to me.
Yeah, beautiful. Brother, thanks very much. This was a
man.
pleasure.
I appreciate this.
I had to tell you something I didn't tell you before the interview. When we talk and thing and we figure out, well, when you go come and thing, and we book the day, I realized the day is my birthday. And this is one of the happiest birthdays I ever had to have you here with me. Boy, I appreciate that. This is a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Thanks very much for coming on.
Listen.